Why, hello everybody. It is Robbie from Southern California, and I promise you this one is going to be a quick garden tour. I wasn't even going to do it. We've had rain and miserable weather pretty much all week. It's not raining right now, but I figured, you know what, I will step out. I will do it. A friend of mine said, don't do a garden tour. Nobody wants to see it in the winter. Well, we're not winter yet. But we're December 1st and we're pretty cold. We are really in winter conditions right now. As you can see, the squash is still throwing flowers. A lot of it, even though there has been bees, are not really getting pollinated good. I've tried to pollinate it with a brush, but it doesn't seem to really be taking. But you know what? That's okay because I've been pulling the small ones off and still using them. The tomatoes are still going. This plant is still doing okay. I can see this one needs a little help, but we've had wind and thunder and lightning. It's been really treacherous. So all in all, the front yard is there. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's there. Have we lost a lot? Well, the squash is all dying back. But like I said, the tomatoes are still growing. We still have tomatoes, so we'll see what happens there. I'll see what happens with the squash. The onions on the chair are doing really good. Those are the mixed ones. Some of them were sets, and some of them were starts. But all the starts that I trimmed, like these are all starts, I trimmed them down. They did beautiful. They're coming back beautiful. So if you get yourself some onions that have been started and they're green in a tray, and you're separating them to plant them, definitely what I would do is trim them. And you'll see it in my past videos. I just trimmed them down because the ones I didn't trim, a lot of those haven't even come back yet. They're still alive, but they struggled so hard to get the onion tops to grow and keep that alive that it really set them back. Trimming them saved all of them. They just kept going. So that worked out really good. So that's the front yard, and look at that. The little marigolds are still trying to grow. Not much going on here. I still have a lot of walking onions, and these are just cuttings I've showed you that I can move later. Ooh, a lot of garlic chive seeds here. I really should collect those. And all this is doing good. The chair is doing good. I have been picking lots of Swiss chard. Without a doubt, this has been wonderful. I come out, get the Swiss chard. I saw popolo. Technically, the popolo should be done, but it's still going strong. And then we still have tomatoes here. These are midnight snacks. You could tell by their kind of purple, and then they go orange when they're ripe and they're ready to go. So they're not ready yet. I've got some beans coming up. The lettuce has bolted, but I'll collect the seeds on that. And then again, there's garlic chives and walking onions in there. It's just too cold to do this. My hands are like ice. The tomato plant here is still going. I cannot believe it, and still throwing flowers, as you can see there. We're still getting flowers. We're still getting tomatoes. So I'll see what happens in the next month or so. I'll probably clean it up, and we'll see if I'm going to keep it or not keep it. The squash plants, both of them are done. This one is just hanging here. But the plant is pretty much done. So I got to get that in. And the peppermint is starting to look a little sparse. So really what I should do is make a bunch of peppermint tea and then freeze it in ice cubes. That's what works really good. But right now the peppermint is still there, but it is looking sparse. My ginger, turmeric, and stevia table looks very sad. That's okay. I'm actually waiting for it to turn a little more yellow. Like I could start picking all the ginger if I want to take it all in for the winter. And I probably will real soon. Once it turns yellow, it's not really doing much for the tubers. But the black turmeric is still very green. So I'm going to hold off a little bit. It can't hurt anything, if it all dies back, dig it up then. The thing is, if you dig it up too soon, it may not be to its full potential, but it's still good. See, this ginger back here looks beautiful. It's up against the house, and it's getting enough warmth, so it looks really good. But a lot of the turmeric is starting to go brown, so pretty soon I'll start picking through and deciding which ones I want to see what's going on in there, get it out. And this is the purple tree collard, which I really didn't need. I have so much now. That one will get planted whenever I get around to it. The stevia is dying back. It has gone very much to seed, and it will come back. There is some stevia back here, so I really should get some tea going. use the stevia and freeze it. So I have it, the ice cubes. I'll probably do that real soon. I have done some, but I've also used a lot of it already. So that's it. So we'll get into that hopefully in the next month or two and just dig that all out. Store the ginger and turmeric that I want to keep, and then eat the rest of it as it goes on. So we'll see how that goes. But right now, it is starting to die back because of the cold. We've been just super duper cold. Look at the tomatoes. This one's doing really, really well. Ooh, no, I'll pick it later. That is so cool. And these are under the eaves. So just because it's been raining, I still have to remember to water that. There has been plants that have dried out a little bit on me because I forget, thinking it's raining and raining, it's getting enough water, but this is not. So I do have to hand water all the ones under the eaves. This is celery that fell over. I really should just chop it out and compost it, all of it, because I have so much celery. It's going to come up in the spring everywhere. The scrub jay. Hear the scrub jay? Cuttings from the dinosaur kale. So that's what's going on there. And then let's swing over here. The tomatoes look really sad. I will have to trim a lot of that and see what makes it, or just start over. I'll probably end up starting over in here because really I wanted to grow a lot of squash in here, and I ended up growing tomatoes. So we'll see. That I'm glad is doing really good. That's kind of a collard, probably hybrid, and it's growing like a tree, so that's doing real good. And look at that. My old dinosaur kale that's so damaged is making a comeback. Some of them did not make it. So this one is still trying to make a comeback. Look at the size of the trunk. It's like a tree. Look at that. It's huge. So we'll see what happens with that. I still want to probably trim this off or do more cuttings. I have dinosaur kale in this thing too. But I want the big one to grow back, up against the fence the way it is, and I'll take off that branch in the front probably. We'll see how it goes. And then as you can see, I'll step over here. My lemon verbena is ending. As the weather gets cold, look how yellow it's turning. Pretty soon it's going to lose almost all its leaves. That's what it does. Now the one down here must be warmer because this one is so green. This one is in that pot. Yeah, I covered it once to protect it when it was little. It grew right through that wire basket from the dollar store. There was a hole on top, which is fine. It's not hurting anything, but nothing can chew at the trunk, and it's growing really good. But this eventually probably too will go yellow because lemon verbena does die back here in the winter. So we'll see what happens. And this is all dinosaur kale. How beautiful it is when the weather cools down. It's like blue. Isn't that gorgeous? So it's doing really good. And let's see what else is there. The red vein sorrel still doing good. And of course the walking onions, they'll be fine. They'll just keep going all winter. No problem. I know we're not in winter yet. Technically, we don't hit winter until around the 21st, 22nd. So it's going to be a little while till we have winter, but it's still cold enough to call it winter. We've been in like the 40s at night, and there's some areas that have gotten down into the 30s. So we'll see what happens with all the lemon verbena. And let's see back here. That's the baby dazzling blue kale, I believe, that's growing there. And there's a lot of different things still growing. So we'll see what happens as time goes on. Let's see. Let's keep swinging you around. Sorry. That is a purple sprouting broccoli. I really should trim that back. And, as I start to set up more of my compost bins, getting closer to spring, not in spring, but before spring, maybe after the holiday season, I'll trim a lot of that back, and I will be using that in my new compost bins I want to set up where I compost in place and grow. I'm going to put more on the wall. We'll go out to the wall soon, and I'm going to put more there. And then, of course, even in the yard, I will use that. Here, oh dear, this is when I take out a container from the kitchen. This is kitchen scraps. There's eggshells and stuff. You know what I do with that? Let me show you what I do with that. Walk over here. This is why Kitty's garden's growing really good. I just lightly, I'm lazy, just water it in there. Can you imagine the fertilizer that Kitty's garden is getting from that? This is why she's got beautiful lettuce growing in here, and all the collard is growing in here, and I guess she's got some Swiss chard, and who knows what else is coming up in here, because I just take it, the buckets get full of water from all the rain. Look at the rain filled up in there. From all the rain, the buckets are getting full of water, so I just dump it here and there because I haven't had a chance to put it somewhere. And it's not going to hurt being left in a bucket. Doesn't matter. Wherever I decide to dump it, it will be fine. It's not dry, and even if it did dry out, once it hits water, it will start to break down again and be wonderful. These are the bird feeders, and we do continue to feed the birds because they are having a tough time in this cold weather too. That's why you heard the scrub jay a little while ago. And we still turn on the fountains if it's not raining. They've been here all morning, all afternoon, taking a bath. They take a bath. Even as soon as the rain stops, they run and take a bath. They still have to stay clean, the birds, so they're doing their thing. This is my sprouting broccoli. Most of my sprouting broccoli has died back. See back there? That branch that's coming up there? Yeah, it hit about 4 years old, and a lot of it did die back. So I'm going to probably plant more, but I have this one here that came up from a seed, and that came up in this pot here. So this one's doing really good, and I'm going to leave this one. Of course, I'm not pulling anything out. And I've been actually picking. Oh, look at that. What a treat. I'm not even sure what kind of bird that is, because that's not a yellow warbler. That was something else. And he probably came in for a drink. I don't know if you saw him, but that's really cool. Anyways, getting back to the broccoli. I've been picking broccoli and bringing it in for Kitty, and we've been using it too, and the leaves, of course. The sprouting broccoli, the whole plant is edible, even the leaves. And I made green drinks and eggs and stir fry and whatever you want to use. I've even been chopping it up and putting it onto the pizza I'm making. So all of it is good. And then, of course, this one I've got to take out. This one did not make it, this plant, but the birds have been perching on this one and the one next to it. I believe it's a dazzling blue kale. That one's doing good, so I will leave that. So I've got a lot of trimming to do. And I just had a hummingbird come in while I was talking. He just took off. He came to take a bath, even though it's cold and dark. Collard is doing real good. A lot of plants, your collards, your kale, they love the cold weather. So it's the perfect time to be growing that, especially if you've already got it growing. It just is perfect. Down there, the oregano's doing really, really well, which I'm glad because I've been using that on my homemade pizzas. And then, of course, the pepino. I'm going to try to get some cuttings. It looks like it's still trying to throw flowers, but we did remove all the fruit. And then here, we've got tomatoes up against the house because it's warmer. And the lemon balm, which is still in the pot, is growing really good. And around the corner there, see? And all the walking onions, I really have to get through this and pull them all off because once they fall off, they're going to die. So I've got it because they're not going to be able to get into the soil the way they should. I've picked a lot of it. So I do want to get more, so it's doing really good too, as I've got to go through and get all the walking onions. The celery here, I need to pull the rest of the top off because this is done. But see, I talked about this last time. See the celery? It's growing back. So when you chop the top off, if it's gone to seed, remember the plant most of the time will come back. The tomato plants, they're still alive. The tops didn't do well. I need to get them trained back up or just trim them down. I'm not sure. That's that tree collard that's bent. And then I've got collard growing through here. I'm trying to get through here because it's so cold and dark. I don't even know if you can see really much of it. The spearmint is still growing strong. But as you can even see, it's starting to turn yellow. So a lot of the spearmint itself, too, will die back. And I still need to make more tea, so I have it for all winter, because it won't come back until the weather warms up. Probably not till April, so we'll see what happens. It depends on, it will depend on our spring. Last year, our spring was more like a winter. If we have a spring like that, it takes longer. Look at all the baby dazzling blue. This is dazzling blue kale here. Look at all that. I've got some growing in Kitty's garden, and then, of course, here. See how purple it is? Isn't that cool? And that's that tree collard I showed you that fell over, and it's growing over there. If you're growing tree collard, stake it up. Don't do what I did, because if you don't stake it up, then you end up with it just taking off, falling over like this one kind of did. Now, this one's going straight, but it's so big and so top heavy that eventually I'm going to either have to take it out and plant more or trim it all the way down, let it start over. I'm not sure, but that trunk on that is so big, and there's just so much growth on it, and we use it, but for us, one leaf, look at the size of it. One leaf is good for a meal, so I can never get through it all, but it makes the greatest compost. My eggplant is throwing yellow eggplants. Let's see, I'm not even sure if this one's got any eggplants, but it's got flowers. So we'll see what happens. And then what else do we have here? That pretty much the squash. I'm going to have to say the squash is probably done in some areas. I still have mint here. I've got the strawberry mint there, but then over there I've got chocolate. All the baby walking onions I've collected and I stuck in here are doing really good. So that's good, and I've got it growing different places. And then I've got beans growing over there. That's what the big green leaves there. That's just beans. Kind of shove the beans around there growing. I've got garlic chives there, and then that's sage. Sage also I use for my pizzas. They're so good in my pizza crust. Let's see, let's walk through here. This is something I'm going to need to trim, and I have not trimmed it yet. But I do need to trim it. Now, this created a problem for me. Have to decide how I want to do this. We set this up for the birds to feed in the rain, but now the white-crowned sparrows sit here and chew up my plants. It's like, oh, we'll perch there, we'll eat the greens, and then we'll go there and get some seeds. So I can either cover it with tulle or move this. So I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. See, there's the tree collard. It's what, 12 feet tall? Then this I have to trim. So we'll see what happens as time goes on. The papayas are doing great. They don't care about the weather. Both of them. That one's got papayas on it too. The one I was almost going to cut down, and this one is loaded. So we've got papayas, and then we've got all these small ones coming up from the bottom. So we'll see what happens there. And I am composting heavily in there. A lot of leaves and different things, because this compost container here, and I will grow in that later, is also feeding these papayas because they have left the container, the roots, and they're deep into the ground now. And then over here, I've got the strawberries, so we'll see what happens in the spring on that. The moringa is pretty much done. It still has leaves, and look at all the pods that it has thrown, because it knows it's going to have to lose everything soon because they don't like the cold weather. So they're going to lose all the pods Gary will pick, but the leaves they'll be all yellow soon and falling off. And then the tomato here is still going good. Let me swing over here, what's here. And this is just a purple kale that's coming across there, and I'm not sure if I'm going to trim it or what I'm going to do because it's really, really long. And then the tomato plant, which is kind of okay. It's got a lot of yellow, but it's growing good and it's still throwing flowers. And I've got tomatoes on the other side there. So we'll see what happens with that. And then let me see if the door's open, and let's go inside Gary's room. I'm not sure if it's open. It is. So here we are. This is a room he's still working on. He found some more chairs in the trash. He got 2 of those. I actually saw him when I went to the store, and I told him when I came home because I couldn't fit it in my car, and he ran back and got them. So he's going to make something with that. And then, of course, this is all the plants he's starting to move in. Look at this pepper that grew it. Is this amazing? And there's more peppers. These peppers, and it's full of peppers. This is growing there because it's indoors. No lights are turned on. It's using the light coming from here and the mirrors that are set up all the way around. I will get into that because he's still working on this and he hasn't finished with the mirrors, but the mirrors are working. And the pepper, I picked the pepper and I used it for a pizza I made, and there was no other pepper. And within a week, that pepper showed up, the other one, that huge pepper. Now these are moringa trees that were off my deck. And Gary grabbed those because he said I looked at him. I said, they're turning yellow. And he said, we'll lose them. Let's see what happens in the room. So he brought over the moringas. And then there's the other moringa. So these mirrors, he is still mounting. He just mounted that one. The whole idea with the mirrors, it's going to bring in more light from outside. Natural light. So we don't have to use any extra lights. The lights in here he set up is just because he wants to turn on light when he wants to work in here. Otherwise, there's no light. He doesn't turn on light. He picked a tomato we used for dinner last night. These are growing in here, the tomatoes. This is just beautiful. Look at this. They're growing bigger in here than they did when they were outside. Isn't that amazing? So everything in here is doing really good. We'll go more into that as time goes on because he's still setting it up. Oh, looking up on the eaves, what Gary went and did is I had all these Christmas lights, and these are older Christmas lights. They're not the LEDs, so they give off a very small amount of heat. He strung that under the eaves, so if the hummingbirds want to come in and warm themselves up, especially in the morning, because at night they will go into the trees and the bushes and they put themselves into a deep sleep. But in the morning, they've been really cold, and I have seen a couple. I put it on my deck too, so I have seen them on that, and they can sit next to a light bulb and get a very small amount of heat from those bulbs. I know some people are saying, no, LEDs don't give off heat. Well, these are old. These are probably 15-year-old Christmas lights, and they do give off a very small amount of heat. We leave these on all day and all night. So if they wanted to use it at night, they can use it. And if they want to use it in the morning when they first get up to start feeding, they can use it. We just let it go all day and all night. Now let's go through there and go to the other part of the garden. So I've come through the gates now, and now I'm where the papayas are growing. Look at this. This small branch came off this big papaya tree. And look, I've got papayas there. And of course, all those papayas up there. Love it. Unreal. And then, of course, my pomegranates. That plant I planted from seed. It's not even that old. I don't even think it's 3 years old. I think it's only 2. Tomato plant came up on its own, and it's got tomatoes on it. As you can see, it's got tomato there, even in the cold weather. And one down there, so we'll see what happens. That's rosemary down there. That's rosemary there. And I've got another rosemary further down. That's just a plant I planted a while ago. This is the papaya I moved early in the year, so that one's doing really good. And then, of course, this papaya, which is now setting more fruit. And this one's doing really good. And that's another pomegranate tree back there, planted from seed. And then that's the rosemary. So all in all, like I said, not much difference is going on. Let's walk over here real quick, and I'll just finish walking around and end this because it's so cold. And there isn't anything going on here. There was a squash in the bathtub. Cleaned that up, composted it back. This one's pretty much done. We'll see what happens. Swiss chard, and look at this. More squash seeds coming up. Zucchini seeds, we'll see what happens with that. It shouldn't be growing now, but it is. And this is the other moringa, full of pods and full of leaves still. Now this one's gonna hold its leaves a little longer because it's got the warmth of the wall. So we'll see how long it's gonna hold its leaves. This is chocolate mint, and it looks really good. And this is what I wanted to see. This came off my deck, and I planted, this thing here months and months ago. And I'm wondering if I can keep some mint alive growing up against the wall. Eggplant, just some more Swiss chard growing. And these are all the squash, the zucchini. They're hybrids. Look at that one, got sunburn. And they're all full of squash. And I had already done a harvest. I'm still going through the other squash, and it is loaded. There's squash there. There's still squash down there. I'm going to pick them soon. Look at this. Zucchini seeds growing. Look at that. See the seed? I threw some seeds in here a while ago, and they're growing. So we'll see what happens. There's more. And I don't know if it will really make it. Look how beautiful those are. I call those white zucchini. Look how nice and light they are. I'll be picking those. I've been picking. I put that on my homemade pizza. Oh my gosh. And then there's a big one there. So I'll be bringing that in soon. And here, there's more, and I think there's more on that. I'm planning on getting more of those containers all the way along. So when I start cleaning, I'll be filling up these tubs with all kinds of brown leaves and stuff from here. And then I'll be getting more zucchini and whatever else I want to plant. I'm not sure, but I can go the whole length of the wall. It's not going to bother anything. And then the truck bed, the Swiss chard. And the Swiss chard has been wonderful. I love coming out here, picking all that beautiful green Swiss chard. It tastes like spinach, not quite a bite like spinach has. It's so good. I picked it this morning. We had it. Then we've got the red Swiss chard. It's so vivid red. And then, of course, the one that's kind of intermixed. It's green and red. And that's pretty much it. There's garlic chives in there, and there's some walking onions in there, but all in all, it's pretty much Swiss chard. So we'll see what happens with that. We're not doing anything with the truck bed until spring. And then, of course, my apple trees that I planted. These were growing on the deck. I can't even believe they're still alive. I brought them out here because I didn't want to chop them up and compost them, and they're still alive. So we'll kind of watch it and see what happens. Oh, I found a little loquat, and we kind of dug a hole, Gary and I, and put it in there, but I don't know if we're going to keep it or not. It was growing in the truck bed, and I did not want that to grow in the truck bed. So for now, I put it there. And then the avocado tree that came up in the wood chips is still doing really good. He just needs to get a taller cage or something for it. He wants to protect it a little bit. So that's it. Do you know what? I'll show you one more thing. So there is all your purple tree collard. Look at that. And I told him, like he was saying, oh my gosh, I don't have time to plant it all. I told him, don't worry about it, because they had just rooted them. So they're just starting to grow roots and they're so new. I said, let them sit here. It's a good spot. They get some of the rain when the rain comes down, and they're not in direct sunlight. So I think they'll do really, really good here for now. And then as we find places we want to grow it, then we'll grow it. This is just, he picked up some broccolini. So I'm going to plant a little bit of that around, but they're so tiny. So there's no hurry. So that's it. I think we're going to be really set on purple tree collard. I'm really excited with it. And what was really cool is when he went back, they don't have any more and they will not have any more. So I am really glad he picked up that many, you know, and we can have enough of it so nothing will happen to it. And that's it. So I wanted to kind of end it on that note that it's been cold. I don't think there'll be a lot of changes for a while. And I'm still picking squash and tomatoes and all the greens I want. So there's no shortage of greens. And then a lot of the herbs are still growing. Like I said, the oregano and even the mint is still growing. The sage is growing. I still have purple basil on my deck. So I used that when I made pizza the other day. So all in all, we still have a lot growing. It just looks so sad. I feel for them. I understand. I'm cold too. So I hope I did keep this short, because that's what I wanted to do, because there isn't all that much to show. And, you know, as far as a change, but I'll do the deck and other things soon. Isn't that beautiful how purple it is? So we'll see. There'll be a lot more things coming up as time goes on, and maybe we'll have some more time, and maybe in 2 weeks things will look different. You never know, especially if I clean up a little bit more and find some more time. It's a rough time of the year this time because I've got other things going on. So it's hard to work in the garden and get that done, but I will. So have a great day. Glad you can join me on hopefully this short garden tour. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye, everybody. I want to do a quick ending on this because I did not get my garden tour up on the 1st. Today is December 2nd. We have multiple birds in our yard today, and I don't know if you can see it, but the wonderful termites are coming out of the ground today because the rain has finally stopped, the weather's warmed up, the sun has come out, and as soon as the sun comes out, I'm not sure if you can see them flying, but the whole area is covered in termites. And the termites, when they start flying, will bring in all kinds of birds. We got fly catchers and multiple birds chasing the termites. I only wish they'd get them all, but they won't. But it does bring in a lot of food for the birds, the insect eaters. There's been multiple birds all over. So it's been fantastic to see them. And I've been out here photographing so many of them that have come. And I wasn't sure at first because I didn't see the termites. But now I see them coming out of the ground. And that's what they're doing. And that's what you may be able to see on the camera. I'm hoping it can catch it. What you see, if you see any glistening, is termites. And right in front of me is a very small little insect eater. I can't see exactly what he is, but he's here and he is collecting termites in front of me. He's in the bottle brush. And I'll show you some of them that have been coming in and what I have been photographing. I can't get them all because they're just all over the place, but it's just been beautiful. All these birds all over. I have not seen any swallows, so they must not be here, but I have seen them in the spring when we get a rain. See there? He's catching. And that's what they're doing. When you see the birds flying in the air and doing acrobatic things, what they're doing is they're flying and catching termites. So I wanted to end it with this. So we have a sunny day today and another rainstorm coming in. So that's it. These are termites all over the place. Can you see them? These are termites. They are moving. And that's what happens pretty much after the first big rainstorm. And then they'll do the same thing there. Look at them. This little white crown is collecting things. I've seen them come through and they're collecting the termites on the ground. They're usually seed eaters, but they will do both. They will eat greens. Look at this. I'm hoping you can see the canyon here. If you see anything glistening in the sunlight, all that is termites that are coming out of the ground. And the birds are feasting on them. Truthfully, I need more birds. This is not a happy time when you see termites. And we did termite a while ago, but this is all termites. Look at this. And there are just birds everywhere. Everywhere, and they're flying through the trees, and I can't catch them. They've just been zipping so fast. All right, just want to end it with that. Nice day today, and we'll see if I can get some stuff. I want to get some more herbs planted too, especially now that I'm making a homemade pizza and it's working out so good. But that's it, so I'll end it with that. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow, and I hope you don't have termites. Bye-bye.